Standing at 7 feet and 1 inch, Shaquille O'Neal is larger than life. He's a 4-time NBA champion and a 15-time NBA All-Star. But he's been even more successful off the court. Since retiring, his businesses have been booming. He's owned many different restaurant franchises, all while being a spokesperson for big brands. Now, Shaq is rolling out his own restaurant, Big Chicken, as he embarks on creating a property that's truly his own. Shaquille O'Neal is widely considered one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game. He helped bring the Los Angeles Lakers 3 NBA championships in the early 2000s and dominated the paint as an unstoppable center for nearly 2 decades. Meanwhile, off the court, he's an entertainer, appearing in a half-dozen films while endorsing some of the biggest and most well-known brands in America. Combining his NBA earnings with his endorsement deals, Shaquille O'Neal's net worth is in the hundreds of millions. And while he has owned numerous restaurant franchises, today Shaq is pushing ahead with his own brand across North America. Shaquille O'Neal's Big Chicken restaurants are popping up across the U.S., with plans to arrive in countries like Canada in the near future. Shaq's latest venture is all about big flavor, big food, and big fun. Josh and Shaq, thank you very much for doing this. And Shaq, I'm going to start with you. With this Big Chicken brand, so much time, so much energy and passion that you have been putting into this. Where did the idea first come from?
You know, when I was growing up, chicken was on the table a lot. You know, it was a family tradition. You know, I had a personal connection to the food. It didn't feel right to represent someone else's, so my partners and I, we had to create something that felt like me. And, you know, the brand, it took years to develop, but, you know, the process between myself and Josh and Perry and all those guys, you know, we went through countless recipes and even had meetings with my mom. You know, we even took our time for the interior look and design of the shop, the logo. And, you know, this is something that I can call my own, something that I/we created. And, you know, it's, basically dishes that we had around the house. The number one item on our menu is Uncle Jerome. Uncle Jerome is my mother's brother. When he'd come in, he'd take a sandwich, he'd put it between bread, he'd put some hot sauce on it, you know, he'd put all other items on it, and that's the number one seller at Big Chicken.
Amazing, amazing. And you know, you're involved in so much. People hear about Big Chicken, they say, oh, you know, Shaq, he's got a lot on the go. And yet you look at the locations, the style, the influence from you there. To your point, the menu. How do you find the time for the Big Chicken brand?
Well, you know, I know this conversation basically mostly based on me, but when you come from winning championships, you're very much into team concept and team development. At one point guard, I have Matt Silverman, who's a chef. At the other point guard, I have Matt Pye. I got Josh at the 3. I got Perry Rogers at the 4. And then it's myself. I know it seems like I'm all these places at once, but when you have a great team, that you know, gives you the power to delegate to, you know, each team member what you would like them to do. So Josh and Matt and Perry, those guys do a great job. But yes, I do look at locations. Yes, I do taste the food. Yes, I have had my input on the interior and the exterior of our design. So even though I'm getting all the credit, Shaq, I'm always focused on team, and I always talk about the others. You know, if you ever watch me with TNT, I always talk about the others. You know, my others are, you know, some of the most smartest people in the business world. And, you know, like Matt Silverman and Matt Pye, we own 6 or 7 other successful restaurants in Vegas that we've had for over 20 years. So I trusted them. You know, Josh and Perry and myself, you know, we wanted to bring them in, and, you know, this is what we do.
All right, Josh, so back during Shaq's playing days, he's talking to the GM. Maybe they're making a playoff push. Who can we bring on our team? Let's talk about this team that Shaq is highlighting here. I mean, Josh, you had a big career, a successful career in helping to build big brands. What has this partnership with Shaq been like for you?
It's been unbelievable because, you know, to Shaquille's point, he wanted to create an all-star team of different people that had different roles and knew how to play their role really well. I'm fortunate. My career was mostly in consumer products, working for companies like Anheuser-Busch InBev, Procter & Gamble, Clorox. Not a restaurant operations guy. Matt Silverman and Matt Pye are 2 of the most talented restaurant operations people I've ever met. more of my role comes in really building our franchise ecosystem, making sure that we have a good supply chain, right? Right now, supply chain's tough everywhere. I've been on that side of the coin, and building really engaged teams. It's not just enough to get the results. We want to build a team where we're proud to be teammates with each other, just as much as we're proud of building Big Chicken.
It's interesting to hear it that way. It's so simple, and yet, when you think about day-to-day collaboration, what's that been like? What's the process like working with the different team members and building this thing?
Yeah, I mean, the world changed, right, with COVID, and now with Zoom, things are way more accessible. It makes it easier for Shaquille and I to get in contact with each other when we need to, the board and I to get in contact when we need to, and our team. We have franchise agreements signed in over a dozen states right now. Our ability to be nimble, move quickly, and have those right communication cascades is critical.
Absolutely. And, Shaq, when I think about franchisees and the folks that are on the ground at Big Chicken, just the amazing influence that you have when people see you and it just washes over them. But what's it like for you to experience that when you're talking to a franchisee, when you're talking to an employee at Big Chicken, and you see this creation getting bigger and bigger?
I always tell Josh, I said, Josh, we want to treat our franchisees right, because I want this to be a franchisees first. Relationships are always very important to me. Like, I'm not doing this deal to, make this amount of money and do this. It's all about relationships. It's all about meeting people. It's all about bringing something new. Jeff Bezos said, when he invests in things that's going to change people's lives, the outcome is always in your favor. So, I want to, deliver a great brand message. At Big Chicken, we created our own playbook for our franchisees. And look, we just want to treat them right and, treat them respectful. And Josh has done a great job of doing that. I've met a lot of the franchisees, but once we really get rolling, I will probably be at all the grand openings.
Well, Josh, let's talk a little bit more about that playbook. You guys have big plans for Big Chicken. What's the growth strategy? What are you guys thinking about right now?
Right now, we're predominantly trying to keep it to earth, is really where we're looking at growth, right? The beautiful thing here, we really worked hard on building capability up. We built a training program like we're already a big chain. We built supply chain capabilities like we're already a big chain. We have the ability to move really nimbly. So as a result, we're operating in arenas on both the east and west coast of the United States. We did a pop-up at the Formula One race in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia last December. These are not things that emerging chains typically get to do, but because we spend so much time building the capability, we have the ability to do it. Anywhere where growth makes sense, we're going to figure that out, and we're going to put all of our collective minds together to doing it and doing it the right way with the best possible partners.
And Josh, would you think about a market like Canada, for example?
Oh, 100%, right? We're looking at for multi-unit operators that already have some restaurant experience, and we would love nothing more than to enter Canada as quickly as possible. We love the Canadian market.
Shaq, I think about your time in Canada as a professional athlete and really being someone who helped to spread the word about things that you were enjoying in Canada, in cities like Toronto and in Caribana being a great example of that. I wonder how you feel about not just building this business that really goes back to your own childhood, but also building a business that is starting to look at really an international roadmap.
I don't really consider Canada international. And what I mean by that is when I first arrived in Canada for the World Games in '92, the Canadian people were so nice, so hospitable. I fell in love with the country, with the city of Toronto and Vancouver. As you mentioned, I would always come back for Caribana. Everyone knows that Shaq loves Canadian people. It's not a secret. My partners at ABG are Canadian, the Salter families. I love Canadian people. Would love to have a franchise in Big Chicken. I think because of the way I handle myself and the way I play professionally, I think I get a lot of respect and a lot of love in Canada. And everybody knows my favorite part of the national anthem. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. That is my favorite part of the song. But everyone knows Shaq loves Canadian people, and I'm definitely looking forward to spending a lot of time in Toronto.
Fantastic. See, Josh, this is the danger when you do a joint interview with Shaq. Then you have to follow with your own singing. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Guys, this is really incredible. Josh, was there anything else? It sounded like you wanted to add maybe a quick point there just about the business. Was there something else you wanted to mention, Josh?
No, we're just really excited to be growing the way we are, and I hope we get to Canada sooner rather than later, and I hope that if we're graced with the ability to be in an arena, that Shaquille does sing the national anthem at the first game that Big Chicken is in that arena, now that we know that he knows it so well.
Shaquille O'Neal is one of the most recognizable figures on the planet. An NBA Hall of Famer who helped bring Showtime back to the LA Lakers, Shaq is much more than just a great basketball player. Over the years, he's endorsed some of America's most recognized brands, everything from Pepsi to Oreo. And he's invested his money wisely, including at one point owning more than 150 Five Guys burger restaurants. Marketers have gravitated to Shaq as he continues to connect with consumers through his cheerful and positive personality. Shaquille O'Neal continues to build his brand and his reputation as one of the most trusted faces on the planet. It's pretty amazing when we think about the Shaq brand and that you have become, in many ways, one of the most bankable brands in the world. Whether it's people working with you on partnerships or as a brand ambassador, just looking back at how that evolved, what goes through your mind?
It's the only thing that goes through my mind is how are you portrayed? And is it a real portrayal of yourself? I am a nice guy. I'm a humble guy. I like to make people laugh. I like to make people feel good. On the court, I was a monster. I wanted to win. I do whatever it takes to win. Jump in the stands, elbow you, throw you around, intimidate you. But in real life, I just wanted to make people smile. And so, a lot of these times when you say endorsement deals, a lot of these companies, I really have equity in the company, and I believe in the company. And look, I'm in the fun business. Everybody knows that Dr. O'Neal is the ambassador of fun. I want to be the face that when you see, you laugh, you chuckle, you giggle. We, as yourself included, with family men, with fathers, with businessmen, it's just very stressful. And when you want to release those endorphins in your face and kind of calm you down, that's called laughing. I want to be the ambassador of fun. I want to be the one that makes you laugh and makes you have a good time.
Well, it's a good philosophy, and as I mentioned, boy, has it gotten the world's attention. And if you think about even in the world of trading and companies, it almost feels like there is this select group of people, a Shaq, Oprah, Warren Buffett, when all of a sudden you're associated with a company or a brand, everybody takes notice. Now, you talked about finding brands and partnerships that really fit who you are. What's that process like?
It's very simple. If I'm not familiar with your product, it's probably a no. If I don't like your product, it's definitely a no. If I'm familiar with your product and like your product, it's probably a yes. I always tell the story that in the States, when you win a championship, whatever, Wheaties was the box, the breakfast of champions. They contacted me after my first championship and I declined. My agent's like, how could you decline Wheaties, the breakfast of champions? I've never tasted Wheaties. I'm a Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops type of guy. So I told my people, hey, contact Frosted Flakes and Fruit Loops. Let's be different here. And then finally, 30 years later, I'm on the box of Frosted Flakes now. But I can't just take your money because I have to be honest with myself. I have to be honest with you and your staff, and I have to be honest with the people. I cannot be like, hey, this is the breakfast of champions. Eat Wheaties. I've never tasted Wheaties in my life. That wouldn't be fair to the people.
And it's one thing to strike that partnership. It's another thing to go about getting to that next level or building a brand, however you want to describe it. And it's hard for me not to think about your playing days and the specific time with the Lakers, a brand that is known around the world, and this very strong focus on championship culture. Were there takeaways in that time that you're now finding you're implementing when you're trying to build a brand or thinking about a business?
Yes, you just always have to utilize your teammates. And to me, image is reality. You know, I see a lot of brands that are built, and they you can tell that at some point it's not really favorable to what you think they are in real life. I'm the type of guy, what you see is what you get. I get people all the time like, hey, you act like you act on TV. And I'm like, yeah, because it's me. This is what I do. So, ever since I stated that to myself, that image is reality, I didn't want to create an image. And, I didn't want to get on here and use big, preposterous words and act like I'm that's not who I am. So, I just think if you just stay true to yourself and, stick to your morals and your beliefs, I think, the people, will recognize, the integrity that you have.
Humble for sure, but motivated. Boy, I mean, that work ethic, Shaq. You don't have to be doing this stuff. Where does that come from?
I was raised by a drill sergeant. Told me to never give up. Told me to never be satisfied. I do a lot of things, of course, for my family, for my children, but also do a lot of things for other people who may look up to me. When I was young, a gentleman by the name of Julius Urban, and I saw him in real life, and I was like, wow, I think I can do that. And I met Magic Johnson, who taught me about the business side of it. And then, you look at a Michael Jordan or, Vivek Ranadive, and, my first famous person, business-wise, but was a gentleman by the name of Roger Enrico, former CEO of Pepsi. He lived a couple blocks down the street from me in Manhattan Beach, California. And we just talk about business and brand. And I asked him, man, how do you run Pepsi with 500,000 people? And we just talk and we have great conversations. I go to all the tech conferences. I know and realize I'm not the smartest guy in the room, which I'm fine with that, but I always try to align myself with the smartest. And I always listen to the smartest. Like I would definitely listen to you.
Well, I appreciate that. Listen, on the lessons that you were learning early on in your career, and what's so cool, we live in an era where people can go back and look at what you have said for years. I mean, transparency, we've seen it since the beginning, Shaq, and I think for, let's say, professional athletes, they are young, they come into wealth very quickly. That's an opportunity, but it's also something that can be tricky to navigate, and I wonder how often, that next generation of players is knocking on your door, the way that you were having a conversation with Magic Johnson and asking for your advice.
I think if they knock on my door, I'm available, but a lot of times these guys are making so much money, you just have to sit back and just watch and enjoy the show. If I could tell them anything, I would tell them, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. A lot of times we get these big contracts and we forget one word, FICA. Forget about the taxes and, the state tax and all that stuff. I remember one time I got $1 million check and I thought it was $1 million, but like, what did I net? I only netted like 500,000 because FICA took half. But guess how much I spent? I spent $1 million, which means I was 500,000 in the hole.
There you go. Know the story of the tax man for sure. That's an important one. And one thing about you, Shaq, and we had a conversation years ago at the big technology gathering in Austin. You're a self-described.
I knew I recognized that voice. Hey, man, how you been?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good, my friend. And one thing that stood out from that conversation for me, you're a self-described tech geek and someone who has actually used that curiosity to invest, whether it's a Google or a Lyft. So I'm curious, technology is moving real quickly these days. Are you still thinking about investing in that next big thing these days?
Yes, I, invest in a lot of projects. Right now you see NFTs are gaining momentum. I just raised over $2 million with the Shaq Give Back NFT sale for my foundation. All of that money will go to help, kids in Las Vegas and Atlanta. So, I'll always keep my ear to the streets and, keep my ear to the net and, see what's going on.
Well, on that subject of charity, the fact that we constantly see Shaq on the street or at the checkout helping somebody out, I mean, this is amazing. Where does that part of philanthropy Superman Shaq come from?
It's not about philanthropy. It's about going into these stores and going back to the past. I remember around Christmas time, I see this beautiful young lady, and she got 2 kids, and she's at the layaway section, and she's trying to hide from her kids what she's doing, but I see she wants to get all these toys for her Christmas, and she has this kind of like worried look on her face, and I can remember when $1,500 was a lot to my family also. So I was ear hustling, and I heard her say, "Okay, I'll come back and pay this and this," and then she asked, "Can I have the toys before Christmas and just to go home?" And the guy was like, "Man, you have to pay in full." And I just felt really bad. I was like, "How much is that?" She was like, "No, you don't have to do it." I was like, "No, I have children. How much?" She's like, "It's gonna be 15." So I just paid a whole bit. But that was me and my mom in the late 70s, the early 80s. I remember when my mom would have to put my clothes and my shoes on layaway, and she'd have to work an extra job just to pay that back so she wouldn't destroy her credit.
Well, I know how important family is to you. And as we wrap things up, when the cameras are off and you're not working, which is pretty rare these days, but when you have a moment to breathe, what is it that brings you the most happiness?
Well, now I'm coming up on 50, so I'm working on a "Does Your Dad Look Like This" campaign. I want to look like David Beckham in his underwear campaign. So I've been working out, been doing these strenuous diets. This is the hardest month of my diet because I'm trying to like shape it all up and fit it all out. I wanted to inject myself with the BBD, the Benjamin Button disease. I want to get younger.
Well, you're looking good. You look halfway there, if not further. Hey, Shaq, we can't thank you enough for making time, and we wish you the best of luck with Big Chicken and everything else. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.